Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary, and today's video is going to be a tentative July TBR, question mark. I have a lot of books in this TBR, and I recognize that, and I'm not gonna get to all of them. However, I have been toying with the idea of doing HRCYED again this year. I say again because I attempted to do it last year and then totally fell off. I also have a lot of books in this TBR because I am still technically trying to read 207 books this year, and I'm currently 35 behind schedule. So my hope is that I can read a lot of books in a short period of time. But anyways, you don't really care about all of that. HRCYED, if you haven't heard of it, is the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. This is the third year that the person who runs it, Q at HRCYED, I think is their username, question mark. I think that's like the pronunciation. Anyways, Q does this every year and has for the past 3 years. I attempted to participate last year. Did not really make it very far at all. I don't think I turned in any of my points either. So that's something that I'm going to try to do this year. This year I do have the spreadsheet downloaded, so it's not just me keeping track of it in my Google Sheets. The spreadsheet is on Google Sheets, but I didn't make it. I'm not a spreadsheet girl. It doesn't matter. But it's got a bingo board. It's got all sorts of information on prompts. I will link Q's video down below so you can watch that if you have questions. One of the prompts I actually do have a lot of questions on. I'm not entirely sure how it works. I will talk about it in here, but it's the character to author one. So I can't figure out if it's you read a book, like if I read a book and the main character's name is David, right? And then I read a book by an author whose first name is David. I can't tell if I have to read both of those books for it to count as one, because you need 3, or if it's like you read a book by an author, or you read a book with a main character named David, you read a book by an author named David, and then the main character of that book's name is Miriam, and then you read a book by an author named Miriam, if that is your 3. Does that make sense? So I don't know if it's 3 books or 6 books, basically. If you do know, let me know. I find the way the prompt is written to be kind of confusing in that sense. That being said, those are all of my caveats. The books that I'm going to read off to you, I have put in the HRCYED planning thing on the spreadsheet, and I will just tell you what I'm planning on reading them for. And then also, just another thing to note, each book can cover 2 prompts. So that's cool. And the hope is that I have picked these books, most of them, for 1 prompt. And then the hope is that while I'm reading them, I'm like, oh, this covers this other prompt, or I can make this work for this other prompt. So that's my idea there. So first I have Beneath the Neon, which I own. I have Beneath the Neon by Matthew O'Brien. And this counts for 2 prompts. I don't have the other one written down, but I should. So periodic table is a prompt. Neon is in the periodic table. That one is going to be kind of difficult. One thing I do appreciate about the prompts this year is a lot of them are like very easily searchable by the title of books. Because it's like this color in the title. First and last name in the title. Familial terms in the title. Very easy. Periodic table terms in the title. So Beneath the Neon, neon is an element from the periodic table. This is a nonfiction book about the tunnels of Las Vegas. It came out a long time ago. I watched like a very short documentary on it when I was in like 8th grade and decided I was obsessed with it. My mom bought me this book. I tried to read it at that point. I never completed it. I would like to complete it. There's another prompt that's like second chances and disappointments or something like that. And one of the like ways you can fulfill that prompt is by reading books that you have soft DNF'd before. So I'm going to read this for that as well because it fits. Because I did try to read this at one point and just sort of fell off reading it. And now I might come back to it, which is exciting. The next book I have is Music for Wartime by Rebecca Makkai. This still has like the plastic wrap on it. I bought this at a used bookstore here, but I think it was originally a library copy, which is why it has this on it. Most of the time I remember to take that off, but I didn't for this one apparently. So I will have to go ahead and cut the like cellophane on it off. This is a short story collection. I don't really know that much about it. I do know it's by Rebecca Makkai. I have read and enjoyed several Rebecca Makkai books. The 100-Year House, which I kind of want to reread, so I might do that as well. It's like a historical fiction one. And then also, it's right behind me. What is it called? I Have Some Questions for You, which did the rounds a couple years ago. It's like I would say more of like a literary thriller than anything. Like, I don't think it fully counts as like a mystery thriller, but it has dual timelines, which the 100-Year House also has. And it's essentially about like a woman who goes back to her like university town to teach, and there's some stuff about her husband being Me Too'd. He's like an artist or something, and someone comes out and says that he was inappropriate with them, And so she's dealing with that at home, or it's her ex-husband maybe, like they're going through divorce. I can't really recall, but they do have children together, so they co-parent, I think is what it is. And then she's also teaching this course about podcasting at a university. And one of the students decides, it might be a boarding school actually, that she attended. She attended it regardless. And when she was there, another student was murdered. And so one of her students now is reopening the murder as like a serial type podcast. So she's dealing with both of those things in like the present and past timelines. I really enjoyed that book as well. There was another one that I read that I also liked that I can't remember what it's called right now. But anyways, this is from her backlist that I would like to read. Backlist authors is A Prompt. So that's what that will fulfill. The next book I have is Queenie by Candace Clardy Williams. This is a like literary fiction book set in London about a woman who's half Jamaican, half British, I think. And I think it's just like not really a coming of age story because she's 25, but it's just about her life and like her feeling like she doesn't really fit into either world and sort of what she's going through. I think it's just going to be like a very character driven book. There's a sequel to this. So if I like this, I will potentially pick that up. I believe this also has an adaptation. Here's the thing. Her kid has a prompt or had a prompt last year about reading adaptations. And one of the prompts this year is to combine one of the prompts from volume 2 and volume 1. So if I combine the adaptation prompt with something else, I might read this for that because I think that's a good idea. I originally had this down for the Technicolor Dreamcoat special prompt. Here's the thing. That is a color in the title. This doesn't have any colors in the title. It's kind of a bummer. So instead, I don't know what I'm going to read this for, but I will figure something out. Or I guess I won't read it if I can't figure anything out. The next book I'm potentially going to be reading is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. This is about a woman who, it's set in 2000, she lives in New York City. She seems like she's just bored of her life, so she spends an entire year intoxicated on different pills and stuff. This did the rounds a couple years ago, and I have wanted to read it since. I'm hopefully going to actually finally get to it. I don't know if I will love or hate this book, to be honest with you. It sounds like something that could go either way for me. I am going to read this for the cover styles prompt because the cover of this book is one of those like pop culture, like pop art renditions of like a classical art piece. It's like a painting and then there's like hot pink stuff on it. That's like a very specific style of art of cover that I've seen. And so that's what I'm using this for. And then again, as I read it, I will find another prompt to shoehorn it into, hopefully. The next book on this list is called 3/5 by John Vercher. And I wish I had re-looked up what this was about. I believe this is it's historical fiction set after the Rodney King riots in Southern California. I believe that's correct. Full disclosure, I picked this because it has a number in the title and that's one of the prompts. So 3 is the number, but that's why I picked this book. And I believe it's called 3/5 because if you don't know, in the US Constitution, when they originally like wrote it, they wanted to we had 2 different like systems of representative for states. So there's the senatorial system where each state has 2 senators. And then there's a population-based one where the House of Representatives is. And so you're in like congressional districts for Congress. And those are based on the population. So bigger states like Texas have a larger population. Texas, California, they have more congressmen than like Wyoming, which if I'm not mistaken is the least populous state. So they have this, all states have the same amount of senators, but congressmen is decided on population. And the reason that 3/5 is important is because before slavery was abolished and Black people were given the right to vote in this country, Black people were counted as 3/5 of a person for population purposes, so that Southern states had a larger voting, or a larger voting share nationally in Congress, rather than just counting the white people who were actually voting as their population. They counted the slaves as part of the population, but each Black person was 3/5 of a person, which is just another horrific fact about this country that we live in. But anyways, that's why it's called that. So I don't really know the plot of that book. I know like the setup of that book. My dog would like to come inside, so I'm gonna go get him. I'm back. Another book that I want to read this month, Friday Black by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. I know I'm pronouncing that probably wrong. This is a short story collection as well. I'm going to read this. There's like animal families is one of the prompts. And so like the families are like Bovidae. I'm saying that because one of the other books that I have on here is in the Bovidae family, so I know about that. This has a spider on the cover right there, which is an arachnid, which I believe is its animal family. So that's what that is. Also, one of the prompts is colors in the title. Friday Black. So that is going to count for that. The next book that I'm interested in reading, it is summertime, so I am in the mood for a lot of like light, fluffy, goofy romances. This is a contemporary romance called Do I Know You? And it's by 2 authors. So it's Austin Sigmund Blake. What is his name? I don't know, something like that. And then the female author is Emily Wibberley. I don't think I've read a book by either of them, but I have heard of Emily Wibberley. I might own a book by her or something. But the premise of this book is a married couple is going on vacation together and they're at the hotel bar separately. I don't know if they got in a fight or what happened, but someone misinterprets them as being singles and tries to set them up with each other, and they go with it. So they pretend to not know each other for the duration of their trip. And I assume it helps them fall back in love. I'm very excited to read this. It sounds kind of quirky and cute and kooky. So this will hopefully fulfill the prompt. There's a prompt called Biomes, where you're reading books with different biomes on the cover, like landscapes. And this has a beach on the cover. So that's what I'm hoping to fulfill with that. And then I don't know what other prompt it will fulfill. The next book I'm hoping to read in July is Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. It's a YA mystery thriller. I've read another book by Tiffany D. Jackson. I read Monday's Not Coming, and I feel like I've read another book by her, but I can't recall right now. Maybe I have a lot of books on her by her on my TBR. So this might be a good contender for the like backlist authors prompt, because I have a lot of Tiffany D. Jackson on my TBR, and I don't know that I would say that she's a favorite author of mine though. So that's where I'm like struggling with that, because that's supposed to be like you read backlist books by your favorite authors. I've loved a lot of the Rebecca Makkai books that I've read, which is why I counted that one as one. So we'll see. Might count it for that. I also plan on counting it under the titular counting prompt, which is basically to read a book with 1 word in the title, 2 words, 3 words, 4 words, and so on up to 10. This has 1 word in the title. Title is just Allegedly. So I think that would work great for that. I should tell you what this is about. This is about a woman who, when she was a kid, she and her mom were convicted, I think, of murder of a baby, something like that. Her mom was babysitting a baby. She was there. The baby died. She went to juvie. She's never really talked about it. And then now it's been years since this, and she's pregnant. And I think my suspicion is that because she was convicted of something to do with child death before, DHS is coming to take the baby she's pregnant with now, or like very concerned about it. So I assume that's the plot. Again, I don't really know, but I'm going to read it and find out. Another book that works for titular counting, because it has 10 words in the title and subtitle, is I Might Regret This: Essays, Drawings, Vulnerabilities, and Other Stuff by Abby Jacobson, who is one of the co-writers, co-starters, whatever, of the TV show Broad City, which is a show that I've seen a bunch of episodes of, but I've never actually sat down and watched. It's a celebrity memoir, but I'm pretty sure the whole premise of the memoir is that she drives from New York to LA, and these are essays along the way. So I'm going to read that. We'll see how I feel about it. I know Abby Jacobson is funny, and I did like the episodes of Broad City that I've seen, so I'm hopeful that I will enjoy this book as well. Another backlist author book that I have is Last Days by Brian Evanson. I have read 2 short story collections by him. I'm not going to remember what they're called right now. I don't know that he even writes anymore. This book came out originally, I think, in the early 2000s. So I'm very excited to read it, or maybe the late 90s. I don't know. It's kind of an older book. It's called, did I already say, Last Days by Brian Evanson. And it's about a detective who gets like wrapped up into this mystery involving a cult. So I'm very excited about that. Again, backlist author, it would work for. I also think it would work for Choose Your Party. He's a detective, so I feel like that kind of fits the Ranger subtype, but if you play D&D, you will have to let me know if that's correct. And then I also have this for cover styles, because it is like a photo cover, like an actual picture. So that's a specific type of cover. But if it works for the other 2 prompts, I might save that one, because a lot of books have that cover style. And if they don't work for other prompts, that might be a good one to just keep in the back pocket. The next book that's tentatively on my TBR is Winter Counts by David Heska Wombley Veeden. So the prompts that I picked this book to fulfill is animal families. It's got a buffalo on the cover, which is part of the Bovidae family. And then also U.S. road trip, because it's set in South Dakota. And also Colorado, I think, but the main thing is to avoid books set in New York City in California, because it's where so many books that are set in the U.S. are set. And so I'm excited to read a book that's not set there. I feel like I read a good number of books that aren't set there, but I thought it would be fun to read this one and count it for that as well. I don't know what to expect from this book, but I hope I like it. The next book I have on here is Dawn Shard by Brandon Sanderson. This is I don't know if it's considered a short story or a novella. I don't know how long it is, but it's like book 3.5 in the Stormlight Archives. If you don't know, I did reread books 1 through 3 this year to try to catch up so that I'd like refresh my memory so I could keep going with the series, because that's as far as I've gotten. And I would like to finish it out because I think the first like half of that series through book 5 is like, it's done now. And I believe that's like a wrap for the first part of it. And then there's going to be a second part later, kind of like he did with his Mistborn stuff. That's my understanding. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. But I do need to read Dawn Shard. I'm excited because Dawn Shard follows characters from the Stormlight Archives that we actually know. There have been other books that have followed a character that becomes a character later. If like the character's name is Lift. I don't think she's in the original, like the actual series until book 3, but there's a 2.5 is about her, like introducing you to her. But I'm excited that this one is about one of the characters who's already in the series. Does that make sense? I hope so. This could be used as backlist author because, again, Brandon Sanderson is a favorite author of mine. This book came out several years ago, and I'm trying to catch up on a series. Additionally, I would like to read Skyward at some point. I don't know if this is going to be the month for that, but I do have that as a tentative option. That's his like YA sci-fi series, not connected at all to his Cosmere, which almost everything else that I've read has been in the Cosmere. I think probably everything. So Skyward would be an entirely different branch. I think it's about a girl who goes to like flight school, but then her dad was like a traitor to this thing. And so it's like she's got to overcome that to become a pilot, something like that. It sounds cool. I don't know if I will get to it, but that would also be backlist author. The next book that I have on here is 86th by David Feinberg. And this is an older book as well. It came out in the 80s. And it's about a gay man living in New York City during the AIDS pandemic in the 80s. So I think it starts in 1980 and then moves sort of to present day at the time, which was 1988, I believe. This would fit the titular counting for 2-word title. 86, 2 words. Unless you count a hyphen as 1 word. Do we count a hyphen as 1 word? I don't know. You'll have to let me know. But I do want to read this. I was trying to get this in June because it's Queer Rep, and June is Pride Month. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen, so I would like to read it in July. I have not even checked to see if my library has a copy of this book. And if they don't, I'm probably not going to read it this month just because I would have to find it, buy it, and again, it's an older title. I should have looked at that before putting it on this list, but that is an option. Another book that I have on this list is Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim by David Sedaris. This is a memoir, short story, essay collection thing, just about David Sedaris' life. I don't really know. I know my mom read this for one of her book clubs, so I have it on my Kindle. My mom and I share a Kindle account, which means that we share all books that we have on our Kindle. So everything that she's bought, I have access to, which is why this is on my TBR. I do like a short story collection. I feel like I've got a lot on here already, but this one I would use for cover styles because it does have just a Barbie doll on the cover. And so like an object-based cover is an example that Q gave, and I think that's apt. And then also I could potentially use this as characters to authors. This is why I was wondering about that like chain thing, because David Sedaris wrote this, but it's about him. So the main character's name is David. And then I have 2 other books in my TBR that are also by authors named David. I did look at those characters in those books. One is named Virgil. Winter Counts, the main character's name is Virgil. And then in 86, the main character's name is BJ. I don't know that I have books by authors with either of those names. But Virgil is a poet, I think. Don't quote me on that, okay? So I could potentially just read something by Virgil. He's a poet from a long time ago, okay? He was Dante's Guide Through Hell, if you'll recall. So that's an option. It's not ideal, but I wouldn't hate doing that. And then BJ, I don't know. The only BJ I can think of is BJ Novak. And I don't know that BJ Novak has ever written anything. But there also might be like an author named BJ. I know there's BK Borison. So it's a bummer that her name isn't BJ, but, or his. I guess I don't know the gender of that author. It doesn't matter. Regardless, if you have ideas, let me know down below because I would like to get that one knocked out because it seems like a difficult one to fulfill. But I don't know. Another book that's on my maybes list is Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. This is a YA fantasy series. It's the first book. Should I be starting a new series right now? No. Okay, that's the real answer. No, I should not be. However, am I going to? Potentially, yes. This is about a girl named Sapphy who is a witch, and she's a specific type of witch in this world. She can differentiate truth from lies. And so, for some reason, that makes her extra dangerous, and she's trying to avoid being captured. And then there's like a romantic subplot with this prince who she becomes an unlikely friend of. I assume that's who the romance is with because it is tagged as romance, but it's like one of the later tags on Goodreads. And usually that means subplot, and then he's the only male character mentioned, and there's not a queer tag. So there you go. That's why I think that. I'm excited to read this one. I've heard really good things about it, so I'm hopeful that I like it. And if I don't like it, I think I have all of it on my TBR, and I could just move all of it off. So that's the other pro to like reading a first book in a series. This, again, would work for the choose your party thing because she's a witch. So sorcerer is what that would fit, which is exciting. Next, I have Drunk on You by Nikki Ash. This is the first book in a contemporary romance series. I don't know. I don't think it's a dark romance, but this is like the cover kind of makes it look like it is. But I don't think it is. But it's like two people who are both heirs to like liquor companies. And for whatever reason, they have to fake date. These are just tropes that I love. I don't really know much more about it than that. I do think that the guy is like already kind of like a millionaire, billionaire type. But I don't know that to be true. And then the girl is trying to get her dad to leave the company to her. So, we'll see. What prompt did I have that for? Oh, this one could work for cover styles because the cover is real people. So that could work. The next book I have on this list is Deva Shastri's Last Day by Kirtana Ramisetti. I hope I'm pronouncing all of that right. This is about a very wealthy matriarch who knows she's dying. She's got a terminal illness, and she decides to leak the news of her death early because she wants to read the obituaries about herself, which just tickles me, to be honest with you. I love that idea. I won't be doing that, but apparently she's expecting all these like nice articles about herself that she can read and comfort herself before she dies. But what comes up instead is like hidden secrets that get uncovered for some reason. So I'm excited to read this one. It does sound like it's going to be a lot of like family drama because she's told her adult children that she's doing this, but they don't know about these secrets until whatever. And so then shit hits the fan right before she's dying. So she's like on her deathbed explaining to her children what's going on. But I am excited to read this one. And then this counts for one of the prompts is, my dog just laid right under the tripod. One of the prompts is a book with it's the secret prompts from last year. One of the secret prompts last year was a book with a character's first and last name in the title. And Deva Shastri is her first and last name. So there's that. That's why I'm planning on reading that one. Next up, we have Food Person by Adam D. Roberts. This is a like contemporary book. And from what I understand, it follows a woman who is like a food blogger and food critic. Maybe not critic, but like in the food entertainment space, and she gets hired to ghostwrite a cookbook for a celebrity. And I don't know much more about it than that. This one is on here because one of the prompts is food pyramid, and this has spaghetti on the cover, which is a carb, which is on the food pyramid. So I'm treating food pyramid as food on the cover, and I'll figure it the fuck out when I need to. But that's the plan for that one. The next book is Switch by S.A. King. I don't know very much about this one either. I know this is a YA fantasy book, and I think it has something to do with like a portal fantasy. I'm not entirely sure. I've been wanting to read this since it first came out though, and this one fits the prompt of motion on the cover because it kind of looks like the house is like flipping over itself. Do you see the vision? That is also one of the secret prompts from last year. The next book that I want to read is, instead of starting a series, would be wrapping up a series. Again, this would work for backlist author, and that is Killjoy by Holly Jackson. This is a prequel to the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, which is a series that I love. I am not caught up on the show. I believe season 2 is out, and I've watched the first episode, but I need to watch the rest of it. So Killjoy is a prequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder follows Pip. Pip is a high schooler. I don't know. The US versions are printed as if she's in the US, but it was originally written and published in England. I don't know, but her like senior thesis project is this podcast that she writes or makes about a murder that happened in her town. It's like Serial style, where she thinks that the guy who everyone thinks did it, who is also dead now, she thinks he didn't do it, and she wants to find out who did. And so throughout the course of the book, she does, and it's a mixed media, and it's got the podcast elements, and it's really, I love that series. I think it's really well done. So the prequel is the last book from that series that I have to read, and it's time that I read them, because I think I read the third book in that series, 3 years ago. So it's been a while. It's time to read the prequel. And the last book that I have on my like potential TBR here is Boys with Sharp Teeth by Jenny Howell. This is a YA dark academia book, and the premise is that the main character's brother died, I think, brother or cousin. I am terrible at remembering the plots of things. Somebody she's related to died, and she knows that these 2 boys did it. So to get revenge, she goes undercover at their school, which is like this fancy prep school, and then I think things are just not as they appear. This one I'm tentatively using for the You Gotta Catch 'Em All prompt, which is like the Pokemon prompt. And she has like a list of words of like types of Pokemon. Like there's fire Pokemon, water Pokemon, dark Pokemon, fairy Pokemon, dragon Pokemon. I don't know. You list a bunch of words that are associated with Pokemon, and you pick a word from the list that describes the book that you read. This one, based on the cover, I'm using dark. We'll see if that's what I end up using. But yeah, that's it. I don't even know how many books that is, but those are my potential reads for July. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books and how you felt about them. Also, let me know what you are reading in July. And let me know if you are planning on participating in the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. I don't want to hear it if you think I'm going to fail, because I also think I'm going to fail, but you know, we're just going to try anyways, and it'll be fun. I am, again, planning on trying to vlog while I do this. I tried to do that last year, and I fell off. I made it a couple months, actually. I did pretty well. I think I didn't participate in July, but I participated in August and September. Not too bad. And then I didn't do anything for the rest of the year, or until like May. But that's it. Those are the books that I'm planning on reading in July. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to, you can subscribe to see my journey through HRCYED 3.0. And I will see you in another video very soon.